All right. So we're back for round two. My power went out, so that was fun. And I have had no power in my house for like an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half. So that's been a good time. Really, what I was hoping to deal with on my Monday evening, and I could have been doing the stream, but it was obviously way more fun to have my power go out. But we're back. We've got the TikTok and YouTube streams up, and hopefully we can have some good conversations. I'll go a little bit late tonight. I don't know how long I'll be able to go, how long I'll be able to stream, but hopefully we can. Hopefully we can have some good conversations. Um, but yeah, um, looks like we have some folks requesting. Um, Give me one quick moment here, and we will try to get. Okay, here we go. Try to actually see if we can have some conversations. Um, okay. So, what I'm looking for is folks who are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. We'll try to see if we can start out strong with a good conversation right away.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Tsukabishi. Are you at least 18?
Yep.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
I'm just like a general theist, so it's not like a specific one.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God?
Yep, I have four premises and two conclusions. Do you want to type them out?
Okay, premise one.
Premise one is truth is propositions that correspond to reality.
Uh, that doesn't make any sense. Can you fix that?
Well, it's like a definitional premise, so I'm defining what
Yeah,
truth is.
that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, would you posit like another like coherent theory of truth?
Yeah, I would maybe say something like, well, I'm not trying to give you a different theory of truth. I'm just trying to say, like, what's a way to say this that actually makes sense? So maybe something like truth is um, the property of a proposition um, corresponding to reality.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, truth is the proposition of a truth is the property of a proposition corresponding to reality. Okay, premise two.
Propositions are inherently mind dependent.
Propositions are inherently mind dependent. Okay.
Conclusion one is that truth is mind dependent, or
Truth
therefore truth is
is
mind dependent.
mind dependent. Okay.
Premise three is there are necessary truths.
Okay.
Premise four, contingent minds cannot ground necessary truths. And conclusion two is that therefore there exists a necessary mind.
So I don't. Uh, I think that what I probably want to do is reject premise three. Yeah, I think premise three would be the one that I would reject.
So you disagree with necessary truths?
Yeah, yep. Because truth is
Okay.
a because if we're defining truth in this way that it's the property of a proposition that corresponds to reality, or it's the property that exists when a proposition corresponds to reality, and since propositions are mind dependent, right? Well, so like I guess that this is where it boils down to whether or not you're a Platonist, right? So as a nominalist, I'm going to agree with premise two and reject premise three. If I was a Platonist, I would agree with premise three and I would reject premise two, right? So I think that this argument, um, those two propositions are not going to both work in the same worldview. As I can't tell how those could both work in the same worldview. Well, I mean, unless you're an idealist, obviously, but if you're unless you're an idealist, I don't see how this can work And so if you, so I think, I mean, you can tell me where I'm going wrong here, but I think that you would have to demonstrate idealism for this argument to go through.
Maybe I don't really know if that's necessary, but
Well, so
like for example, the laws of logic I would say are necessary truths, and I think in order to
yeah,
disprove that they're necessary truths, we would have to like give true contradictions, for example.
no. We can just say that the laws of logic do accurately describe coherent thought processes, but they're not necessary truths. Not one problem with calling the laws of logic necessary truths is that the laws of logic are not propositions, and we described truth as a property of propositions. So definitionally, by your own definition, the laws of logic can't be truths, right? Because they aren't propositional. So, like I said, by your own definition, you have defined the laws of logic as not being necessary truths.
The laws of logic. So, like for example, the laws of logic. Those three words right there wouldn't count as a proposition, sure. But the laws of logic, like individually, as in like the law of non-contradiction, for example, that is a proposition.
No.
Okay. What do you think the law of non-contradiction says?
Well, I know what the law of non-contradiction says. What I'm saying is that it's not.
What does it say?
The law of non-contradiction is that P and not P is always false. Right? A proposition and its negation can't both simultaneously be true.
Yeah, at the same time in the same sense. Sure.
Right.
That's a proposition.
Well, again, I'm just disagreeing that with this conception of the laws of logic. The laws of logic are descriptions of coherent thought processes. The laws of logic are not necessary things. Like they're just descriptions of thought processes.
So are we moving away from them being propositions?
I'm saying it. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter either way. What I'm saying is that the laws of logic are not things that have their own ontology. They are
propositions? What's the argument for that?
What I'm saying is that I'm not a Platonist. I'm a nominalist, as I said earlier. Obviously, as a nominalist, I'm not going to hold that the laws of logic are.
The thing that you just said.
It's an entailment.
That the laws of logic aren't.
Yeah, the laws of logic don't have ontology.
Don't have their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the argument for that?
Nominalism? I'm a nominalist. That's obviously the view of a nominalist.
That's a statement of a position. That's a statement of a position, but that's not an argument for why the position
sure.
is
Fantastic.
True.
So this isn't my. This is. I'll be honest with you. You're doing this. Your rhetoric game is on point. Mine is not. The problem here is that all this is rhetoric, because this is your argument, and it's not up to me. It is not up to me to demonstrate that your argument is wrong. If you haven't properly supported the premises in your argument, then they can be rejected. So again, I'm rejecting.
The premises have been supported.
Nope, you haven't supported premise 3.
Yes, they have.
Nope, support premise 3 then.
Because you can't
support premise 3. That's not how you support a premise, my friend. That's not how you support a premise, my friend. Support premise 3. What is the motivation? What is the syllogism that concludes there are necessary truths?
It's not a syllogism formally, but you can't deny the laws of logic without presupposing that the laws of logic are true.
Okay, so premise 1 of this new argument that concludes there are necessary truths?
There's no formal argument, like I just said.
Okay, so then give the argument give an informal argument that concludes that there are necessary truths.
I just did. You weren't listening.
No, you didn't give an argument. You made a demand of me.
Repeat back to me what I said then.
So, do you have an argument or no?
Why can't you repeat back what I just told you?
Because it was nonsense. You're telling me that it's my job to provide a true contradiction.
You told me that it's nonsense, but you don't even know what I said.
Yeah, you told me it was my job to provide a true contradiction.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, well, okay, then you said that you have to presuppose the laws of logic in order to.
I gave you an informal argument.
Okay, so give the argument again. Give the argument.
You just said it. Did you not hear yourself? Are you not keeping track of your own thoughts?
Well, I repeated what you said, and it wasn't an argument. So why don't you give an argument now?
That's an informal argument.
I don't care. Give an actual argument that concludes. Give an actual argument, formal or informal, that concludes there are necessary truths.
You can't deny the laws of logic without
presupposing. You can't deny the laws of logic without presupposing them. Okay, and then how do we get to their necessary truths? I'm waiting.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, how do we get from you can't deny the laws of logic without presupposing them to there are necessary truths?
From that proposition right there.
Yep, how do we get there?
you're already there.
Nope. The words
Do you agree
necessary
with
and
that? Do you
truth
agree
are
with that
neither the word
proposition?
necessary nor the word
Wait, do
truth
you agree with
are
do
present.
you agree with the proposition
So
that I said?
I'm going to ask you one more time. If
Do
you
you agree or
don't
disagree with the
respond,
proposition that
I'm going to ask you the question one more time. If you don't respond with the
agree or
argument,
disagree?
I'm going to ask you the question one more time. If you don't respond with the argument that concludes there are necessary truths, I'm taking it as a concession. So now that you know the terms, what is
Why
the
can't you
argument
answer
that
based on-
concludes there are necessary truths?
Yeah, do you agree or disagree with the premise I
Okay,
was just saying?
fantastic. Thank you for the concession. I appreciate it. Yeah, so again, like my rhetoric game clearly not on point tonight, right? No questions about that. Unfortunately for that guy, my substance game is on point. Man, he drugged me down into the rhetorical weeds there for a second, and I was drowning. I'll be honest, you know, but fortunately, the substance will always save us. So we have a few people requesting. Just make sure if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining the guest box that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. And moving to the next person, hopefully they will connect. Hi, make the case. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. And what God do you believe in?
I'm a Christian.
Cool. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
I honestly think what the guest before was trying to allude to is the best.
Okay. Well, so do you
And I
want to
think I
defend
gave
his
you-
syllogism or what?
I mean, I get the idea where his syllogism was going.
Well, I mean, I can
think
put it up
maybe
on the
I could-
screen. Do you want to, like, here?
Well, you were.
Do you want to defend this syllogism or no?
I actually just caught the end of it. So, the property of a proposition
Oh, oops.
corresponding to reality. Truth is the property of a proposition concerning reality. That seems fair. Propositions are inherently mind dependent. Yep, that seems obvious. Truth is mind dependent. There are necessary truths. That seems obvious. Contingent minds cannot ground. That seems obvious. I mean, that's a good argument. So, yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, with same as I did with the previous person that gave this syllogism, I reject premise 3. What's the argument for premise 3?
So, like, when you reject a premise, you're saying that you're not accepting it and rejecting it at the same time, right?
I'm sorry?
Like, it sounds crazy what I'm saying, but you're not, like, when you say you reject it, you're not meaning, hey, I think it's wrong and it's true at the same time, right?
Correct. That is not what I mean when I reject a premise.
Yeah, so you're saying the law of non-contradiction must be true in order for you to deny that premise.
I would say that the law of non-contradiction accurately describes coherent thought processes, and in order for me to have a coherent thought process, I would need to, think in accordance with, that description of coherent thought processes. But that's a descriptive law. That is not a prescriptive law. So I don't understand the relevance.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to run into the same problem the last guest had. I think he is dead on right. You cannot deny that the laws of non-contradiction are not always true, while also presupposing they are true.
Again, I think
like,
that
what you're
here's the
saying
problem.
is-
Here's the problem. I agree that truth is a property of propositions, and I agree that propositions are mind dependent. So what that means is that truth only exists in an instance where a mind holds a proposition in its mind that corresponds to reality. So if there isn't a mind holding the mental content or having a mental state that is intentional toward a proposition that corresponds to reality, then truth doesn't exist. So what that means is, if there is a reality where where there are no minds, then that means that in that same reality, there are no truths.
There is no truth.
Right.
So
my position is that there are no gods, right? And so if there are no minds other than humans in reality, then if all the human minds stopped existing, then truth would also stop existing, because it's a property of propositions. Propositions can't exist without minds. And if, as far as we know, the only Well, the only place that minds exist is on Earth, and so let's say that we got rid of all the minds on Earth. Well, then obviously there would no longer be any propositions to hold the property of being true.
So do you think it's actually true that if there was no minds, there'd be no truth?
Yeah, but definitionally, yes.
Okay.
Trivially.
So like, yeah, how would you know that though? If there
Well,
was,
just
if there
because
literally
it's the
is
definition
no
of the
mind.
words, right? It's just by the definition of the words. That's like saying if we define what 1 plus and equal mean, or 1 plus equal and 2, if we define what all those things mean, then it will just follow from the definitions that 1 plus 1 equals 2, and we don't have to investigate in the world. This is what's called a priori knowledge, right?
But
And
you
this,
don't believe in a priori knowledge.
I'm sorry?
But it sounds like you just made a case that a priori knowledge is unjustified.
Nope.
So you believe in that's what the logic is. Logic is a priori, is a fundamental. You're disagreeing.
Yeah.
You're saying it's
No.
a social construct.
Nope, I didn't say anything like that.
So if it's not a social construct, then what is it?
It's a description of coherent thought processes.
So is that a social construct? Are descriptions social constructs?
Not necessarily, no. Like,
So
I
what
don't think...
descriptions are not social constructs.
Yeah, sure. Like, I would say that, like mathematical systems aren't social constructs. They're mathematical constructs.
Oh, is there mathematical constructs? Do you think those are always true?
No.
Okay, so when do they begin to be true?
When they correspond to reality.
So like the area of a circle, pi r squared, when did that begin to be true?
When we defined what pi r squared circle, like when we defined those terms, then the statement pi r squared is the calculation for the area of a circle became true. When the proposition existed in a mind, and the content of that proposition corresponded accurately to reality, stipulating all the definitions of the words involved, that's when it became true.
Like you have to understand like how that sounds a little tough to believe. So like,
no, I don't. I can only understand that sounding tough to believe that to somebody who has no idea who's someone who's never actually thought about this stuff before. So do you have an actual argument that would conclude that there are necessary truths?
I think that like you made a great case. Mathematical truths seem to always be true. That's why multiple independent, geographically disparate people.
Again, you're just misunderstanding. Yeah, you're just misunderstanding what it is. Like, I'm not saying okay. Do you realize that there's a difference between a proposition and the state of affairs that proposition describes?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So it could be that the state of affairs described by certain mathematical propositions are always the case in reality. But again, if we're defining truth as a property of propositions, and we're defining propositions as mind dependent, then it would trivially be the case that if there were no minds, there would be no truth. And if there was no truth, then obviously nothing is true or false. Right? Like that just trivially follows from the definitions that we're using.
So, all right. Well, let me backtrack it. Let's just say, do you think it's, how do I say this differently? Do you think the area of a circle, pi r squared, is always that formula? Even before human minds were evolved to discover it?
Right. Like it would have been, had there been someone there to think about it. It would have been true if someone had been there to think about it. But since no one was there to think about it, there wasn't a proposition that could have the property of being true.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the truth language here. I'm just trying to say, is it accurate that pi r squared is the area of a circle always, no matter what?
Right. And I'm telling you that that is context dependent.
So it's context dependent of pi r squared. So
based on the definition of the words, based on the definitions of the words that we're using, yes. For example, if you went to a culture where no one there spoke English, and you said the sentence, you asked them, does pi r squared tell you the area of a circle? Then they're not going to be able to evaluate the truth content of that proposition. Sure. And therefore, from their perspective, it has no truth value, right? That doesn't mean, so again, what we're saying here is that whether or not a thing is true, if we're defining truth and propositions the way that they have been for the purpose of this conversation, then it just trivially follows that, yeah, there are going to be contexts in which certain things that seem to be fundamental truths wouldn't be true. It just trivially follows. And the fact that you're acting like this is like some crazy thing that you're just discovering right now tells me that you aren't familiar with these concepts, that you're not like that. This
Well,
is not that this, that you probably
give
don't
you a
have the
thought
boots for this
experiment?
hike. So what I'm
Can I
going to ask you to do, make the case,
give you
is
a
to
thought
either,
experiment? Okay.
no, what I'm going to ask you to do is to give the argument that concludes there are necessary truths. If you're not able to do that, I'm just going to move on.
Okay. I can give you a different argument. It feels like this one's above your pay grade, so I can move on to a different one.
Okay, thanks for the concession. All right, so we will try to see if we can have a good conversation with anybody. If you are in the guest box or thinking about joining the guest box, I just ask that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. All right.
I'm not a believer in God, but I do have a good argument for why God is not possible to even exist.
Okay, well, I hope you have a good rest of your night.
Oh.
Hi, Esp, are you at least 18?
Yes, sir. Actually, it came up by mistake.
Okay, have a good rest of your day.
As well.
How are you doing today?
Hi, N, are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
And what God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
I feel like when a lot of Christians say, if you look back, a lot of people said they saw him get crucified. And I'm wondering, how would that many people have the exact same delusion at the exact same time and have it documented?
Yeah, so how many people do we have documented that saw the crucifixion?
I think it's around 400, 500 maybe.
Cool. So give me 20 names and I will look them up. Just your favorite 20.
Well, I can't give you exactly 20. I apologize.
Well, you said there are 400 or 500.
I like that
So out of the 400 or 500, you can obviously, like, if we have documentation of 400 to 500 people, then providing 20 of them would be trivially easy. So what's your favorite 20? And I'll write down the names and then I'll look them up.
Oh, well, I like that knowledge. I apologize.
Okay, so isn't it your position that we have documentation of people saying they saw Jesus get crucified?
Sure.
Okay, where's that documentation?
In the Bible.
Okay, and which verse names the people and provides their firsthand accounts?
I need to look back in my Bible.
Okay, so you don't actually have a source for this claim. It's just a claim that you pulled out of the air?
Well, I've looked at it in the past and I've seen it.
No.
I apologize
No, you
for
haven't.
my lack of knowledge right now.
Don't lie to me. And the reason
no,
that I know
no.
that that's a lie, Hall, is because I know that this thing that you're saying isn't true. There is a verse in the Bible where I think it's Paul, and I could be wrong about that. Notice my humility that I will admit when I could be wrong about something. I believe that it's Paul who claims that 500 people witnessed the resurrection, not the crucifixion. So you have your whole story here mixed up. And
Okay, I
Paul,
apologize
hold
then.
on, I'm not done. Paul writing in a book that 500 people saw something is not evidence that 500 people saw something. It's evidence that Paul believed 500 people saw something. So I'm not concerned with what Paul believed. I'm concerned with what we can demonstrate to be true in reality. So what is the actual evidence in reality that a God exists?
What else would explain our existence then?
That's a question.
What is-
I asked you for evidence.
All right. Well, I was wondering your take on that. What do you
That's
believe?
fine. That's fine. I have a lot of things that I'm wondering too. All those things that you're wondering and that I'm wondering are irrelevant to the conversation. What's relevant to the conversation is you providing an argument or evidence for why we should think that a God exists. Is that something that you're capable of doing?
I apologize. I'm unable to.
Okay. So then, all right. Then do you want me to move on and provide an argument for my position?
Sure.
Okay, great. So it's my understanding, as you said, that you're a Christian. So we'll just go with what I assume typically Christians are going to believe. Do you agree that God has a mind?
Yeah.
Cool.
I can agree with that.
And do you agree that minds either have changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state, and that there aren't any other options?
I feel like when it comes between God and humans, that is unchanging and ours is changing.
That wasn't my question. I'm asking if there is any other possible configuration for a mind besides either having changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state. Is there a third option, or are those exhaustive?
I think those are the two.
Okay, fantastic. Do you agree that change only occurs in time?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Cool. And do you agree that God exists outside of time?
Yes.
Fantastic. So then we can conclude, and it sounds like you already agree with this. You kind of jumped ahead of me, but that's fine. We can conclude, our first conclusion here is going to be from the first four premises that we've both agreed to, is that God has only one unchanging mental state. Doesn't sound like you have an issue with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you agree that in order for me to act upon my will, it would require a change in mental states? For example, I would have to go from the mental state, I will to do X, but haven't done it yet. And then subsequently, I would have to have the mental state, I have completed my will to do X. Do you agree that that's a prerequisite for acting out one's will?
I feel like it depends on the thing you're doing. Because,
Okay, sure.
like, if you have...
Give me an example of acting on your will that doesn't require mental states changing.
Well, if I have something in my mind and I know I need to get it done, I'm going to get it done. I don't have to change and think about it too hard.
Okay, so you're saying that prior to doing the thing, you would have the same mental state as you still have after the thing has been done?
Correct.
Okay. And what is the mental state that you have toward the thing that you will to do prior to doing it?
Well, I feel like that depends on the thing. It's very subjective.
Yeah, so you're giving an example of a situation where the mental state doesn't change. So what is the mental state that you have toward the thing that you will to do that is the same prior to carrying out your will and after carrying out your will?
Okay, let's do walking as an example.
So what is the mental state prior to carrying out your will to walk?
Okay, well, I wake up and then I'll sit up in my
No,
bed.
what is your
and then-
attitude toward walking prior to walking?
I don't have any attitude towards it. I just do it.
So you hear how disingenuous that is, right?
Not exactly. Could you elaborate further?
So I'm not saying that you sit down and write out a syllogism about intending to walk. What I'm saying is that if you, like, let's say that you go on walks every morning. When you wake up in the morning, before you roll out of bed, one of the things in your mind at some point, maybe not through your entire routine, but at some point in your mind, you're going to have the idea, I typically walk most mornings, and it's my intention to do that this morning as well. Then, after you've completed walking, you will now have the attitude towards that walk that you have completed it. You cannot have the attitude, I have completed this morning's walk, prior to completing the morning's walk, right?
I'm a bit confused. Could you restate that? I apologize.
Is it possible to accurately hold the mental state, I have completed this morning's walk, prior to completing that morning's walk?
No.
Okay, fantastic. And so you would say that prior to completing the morning's walk, your intentional attitude toward that morning's walk would be that it hasn't yet been completed, right?
Sure.
Okay, and then
Or that I'm going to complete it.
right, and that you intend to complete it, but you haven't completed it yet.
Correct.
Right, and then after you've completed the walk, your attitude toward that walk is that it has been completed, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're saying it's a state of mental changing?
I'm saying that is an example of your mental state changing from the mental state you held, the attitude you held regarding the walk prior to the walk, and the attitude you held regarding the walk subsequent to the walk, right? Your mental state has to change in order for it to actually be the case that you carried out your will. So
Okay.
that's my contention, that acting on your will requires a change in mental states.
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. And since we now agree that acting upon one's will changes one's mental states, and we also agreed that God has only one unchanging mental state, obviously that means God does not have the capacity to act on his will. And if God doesn't have the capacity to act on his will, then God can't create the universe. If God exists, then God did create the universe. So through the power of modus tollens, we can conclude that God does not exist. I'll throw the argument, the full syllogism up on the screen here, and you're welcome to reject a premise or whatever you need to do. Oops.
Well, if he only has one will, then
No, he has only one mental state. And we
Oh, I
agreed
see what
that
you're saying.
acting on his will would require his mental states to change. Since his mental states cannot change, he cannot act on his will. right? If you can only do A in the presence of B, and you are barred from ever being in the presence of B, then that means you can't do A. That's what's happening here. The only way that God could ever act upon his will is if his mental states had the capacity to change. His mental states don't have the capacity to change, so he can't act on his will.
I guess that makes sense.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I appreciate your time.
All right, yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Cool. Well, that was a good conversation. Yeah. Could have gone badly, but I think it went well. Okay, so it looks like we have Oracle requesting, if you're in the guest box like Oracle or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hey, Brian, thank you for the support. And also, speaking of support, thank you, Ken, so much for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. You rule, Ken. Yeah, we'll bring up Oracle. Hi, Oracle.
Hello?
Are you at least 18?
Yes, 30.
And what God do you believe in?
I believe in a creator, Yahweh.
Okay. So are you Jewish?
No, but I believe I'm grafted into that vine.
I don't know what that means. Can you just give me a straight answer,
just
please?
means that I'm not biologically Jewish, but I believe in that belief.
Okay. So religiously, you're Jewish.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
I would argue that everything around us, everything, me, you, us being here today, creation itself, the trees outside, nature, people, babies, a woman's uterus, everything that is just way too beautiful, way too amazing to not have had a creator's hand in it.
Okay.
Whether
So you're
you
saying that
believe
if
that's
something,
Yahweh or
so you're
whatever.
saying that if anything that has a certain level of beauty must have been created?
Not a certain level of beauty, but I think that when I'm a coder and developer, I develop technology.
I need you to stop with all the rambles. Just give me a
I'm not
direct
rambling,
answer.
You asked me a question.
No. And then talking about being a coder has nothing to do with the question that I asked you.
It does if you let me get to the point.
No, it doesn't. So just
It
stay on.
It actually does. How do you know that it
Oracle?
doesn't have anything to do with the point if you don't
Oracle?
let me finish?
Lock in.
You're one of those. You're not going to let people finish.
No, I'm not going to let you veer off into unrelated topics. We're
It's the
specifically
exact
talking
topic
about.
that we're speaking on. When you
So
develop
what we're
and code,
talking
you
about
look at
here
the way
is that
things are developed.
you're saying you're giving
It takes
criteria
me
for
as
how
a
we know
creator
whether or not.
behind a computer to code something. It takes me to build something. It cannot
Okay.
exist.
So not able to engage in conversation. So I think we can just move on. Fair enough. All right. So if you're in the guest box, please make sure you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. And Hall, we can talk again if you want to. I'm going to go through the people who are ahead of you in line first, though. Just full disclosure. So it looks like we have Sir Loin. Hi, Sir Loin. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
Cool. And what God do you believe in?
Not a god, like one that I could name, just a sort of general higher intelligence.
Okay. Do you believe that a mind created the universe?
Yeah, like a conscious being, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in like an ultimate, like personal ultimate foundation to reality, or do you think that it's like a coder like that made a simulation, some guy named Randy sitting at his desk in a parallel universe of some kind?
I mean, that's a good point. I think it has to do with like something about like frequencies and like transcended consciousnesses, something like that. So I don't think it's like a person that you could like interact with. Like,
I'm not talking person as in a human. I'm just saying like a being with intentional personal mental states. Like.
Yeah, so the mental states, that's part of it. It needs a mental state.
Okay, so is this like an ultimate foundation to reality, or is this like just like a highly advanced being from like another plane of existence or something like that? I've asked you this question multiple times now, and I really need you to give me a direct answer.
On what I believe the God is?
Yeah.
Well, I can't say.
Okay.
I don't really know what it is. I just believe that there is one.
Okay. Well, if you don't know what it is, then you can't believe that it exists. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on because there's clearly nothing there. Yeah. Please make sure that you know what you believe, because if you don't know what you believe, then there's no way that I can ever have any hope of knowing what you believe. So if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you're 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. And again, thank you, Ken, for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. All right. Hi, Kay. Are you at least 18? Or not, Kay? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm over 20.
Okay, cool. And what God do you believe in?
I'm just defining God to be like pure act.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have the
pull back
patience for
up?
this, honestly. You act as
Patience
purist.
for
Yeah,
what?
act as purist nonsense. Like it's honestly like so draining to deal with.
What makes it nonsense?
Mostly just
The fact that you don't understand it? That's what makes it nonsense? Or what?
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
Can
fantastic
you actually
rhetorical
tell me
move.
what scholastics have to say about God, since you think it's nonsense?
Thank you. Thank you for making it easy. All right. Well, that was quick. Hi.
Okay, on the topic of the unchanging mind,
Mhm.
I would like to say that I feel like his mind is unchanging. I would like to keep my former response on that, but I feel like temporal changes happen in the world and in like everyday life, but his will is the act that carries everything out, such as life.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay. It just seemed like you cut off suddenly.
That was my point. I was just wondering what you think about that.
Well, yeah, I think that like the point that I was making before still stands, right? Like I don't think that you can say that
Okay.
like a being has acted on their will if they aren't able to go from the mental state of I haven't acted on my will, but I will. I intend to do X but haven't done it, and then a subsequent mental state of I have done X, right? Like I don't see any reason why I should think that it's possible to act on your will without that.
Okay.
So, I mean, that would be, so my issue here is that if you're saying, because then what we could do, honestly, like an easy way to show the issue here is that we could just run the Proclus dilemma. And that's just going to be premise one, either God was always creating or not always creating. Obviously, that's a dichotomy, right? That's not possible for there to be other options because it's it's a true dichotomy. So either God was always creating or not always creating. If your conception that God is this he just like is this act, then what that means is that for any state of existence where God exists, God is in the act of bringing the universe into existence. So that means that if God has existed in all states of existence, then the universe has also existed in all states of existence. If the universe has always existed in every state of existence, then that means that it was never brought into existence. If it wasn't brought into existence, then it wasn't created. But if God exists, then God created the universe. So then under that conception of a God that is always in that act, then you would have actually defined God out of existence in that case.
I feel like I'm uneducated on this topic.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair. It's a fairly, I don't necessarily want to say a super common argument, but it's a one that's out there. I can throw it up on the screen. It just goes through that there are only two options. Like I said, either God was always creating or not always creating, and both of those options lead you to the conclusion that God can't exist. Here's the argument. So yeah, like I said, either God was always creating or not always creating. Under the conception that he was always creating, then that means that the universe always existed. If the universe always existed, that wasn't brought into existence. If it wasn't brought into existence, God didn't create it. So that gets us to God not creating under that conception. Under the other option, that God was not always creating, then that means that God had to change from not creating to creating. If God changes, God's in time. If God's in time, he didn't create time. If God didn't create time, he didn't create the universe. So we see that both under either of these two options, we get to the conclusion that God did not create the universe, and then we simply stipulate that if God exists, he did create the universe. Therefore, via modus tollens, God does not exist.
Okay, I appreciate the stance. I'll have to do more research on it. Like I said, I apologize.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you saying the point though, so I actually can like educate myself on it.
Yeah, and hey, I mean, if you find a hole in this or find a different response or something that I haven't considered, I would love to hear it and be happy to have the conversation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
See, we can have good conversations. All right, so if you are in the guest box or thinking about joining the guest box, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. We shall see if Master Key can join. Hi, Master. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir. I'm in my mid-30s.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
I believe in a God of like a creator, of someone who loves and forgives. I don't believe in like a God that punishes. I feel like based on our own decisions, like we discipline ourselves, and we make the best of it.
Okay. So I guess I'm a little bit confused. Like, so you don't believe in like the Christian or Jewish or Muslim God or like Hindu gods or Norse gods or anything like that?
Like, I just believe like in a high source. Like I believe like there's like a higher identity. You know.
Okay. So do you believe in a mind that created the universe?
Like what do you mean? Like mind? Like the Mayans or
a mind? You know, like a thing with mental states.
I mean, there's evidence like that. There's a lot of like detail.
I'm just asking. I'm just trying to nail down what you believe God is. I'm having a tough time because I'm not exactly sure what you're saying about the God you believe in. So, do you think that there is some personal being with a mind that created and sustains the universe?
I don't think it's a being. I feel like it's more like an energy. Like is that the same thing? I think it's more like energy.
No,
Like,
because
it's more
energy
like,
energy isn't a thing. So energy is just like a property of matter that, you know, like capacity for, you know, matter to do work or something like that. Energy isn't a substance, so nothing can be made out of energy. Nothing can be energy, right? So
but who discovered? Like, I mean, I'm not gonna get too like deep into like who
okay,
discovered
but here's
electricity.
all I'm really trying to figure out is whether or not you actually believe in a God. And it sounds like what you're describing, I don't know that this would qualify under the kind of definition of a God that I'm talking about. When I say God, I'm talking about a personal ultimate foundation to reality.
Like my religion is Catholicism, but I don't believe it, like on the principles.
Okay.
Like,
So you
I
could
don't
have just
believe
said
in
from the
religion.
beginning that you're a Christian. Okay, fantastic. You're a Christian. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in a God?
That he always existed, like even before.
That's the claim.
Like,
Yep, the claim is that God always existed. What's the argument or evidence that would lead us to believe that God always existed?
because we're here and we're still like he hasn't returned, like in like those I guess like in those scriptures they say that he hasn't returned. So like, is there a second return for you, or what do you think?
I don't believe that any gods exist, so asking me what I think about God or Jesus is nonsense. I don't believe that they exist. So what I'm asking you is, why should I think that a God exists? I don't want you to tell me like other things that you believe about the God. I'm asking you, why should I think that the God exists at all?
I think because it's much easier for you to believe that you go somewhere instead of like kind of just
I don't care what's easy
you
to
just
believe. I
disappear in
care
thin
what's
air.
true. Why should I think it's true that a God exists?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I don't think that people will put too much energy on writing like a book and
So you
keep
think
so
that
much
all
data.
religions are true because the books were written down?
I think that like
I just
all
need a yes or
religions,
no.
like all, okay,
I just need a yes
yes,
or no. So you think that all
yes,
religions are true?
not
So it's the
all, not
case that
all.
well, hold on.
The,
You're saying that
my only
if
argument is this.
you're no,
My only
hold
argument
on,
is this.
Key, hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead.
What you
Okay.
said was that we know that the Bible is true because people wouldn't have written it down unless it was true. So what that means is that everything anyone has ever written down must be true. So that would mean not only that all the religions in the world are true, but also that Batman is real and Superman is real and every other, like Frankenstein is real, like all these things that have been written down in history, you're saying that they must all be true. But the problem is, not only does that lead you to the ridiculous conclusion that um, what Bluey is actually real, but it would also lead you to the conclusion that it's that when religions say that when one religion says Jesus is God, it's true, and then when another religion says Jesus is not God, it's also true. So that means that not only are you committed to ridiculous things like the existence of cartoon characters in reality, you're also committed to the direct contradiction that Jesus is God and Jesus is not God. So I don't think that this is like I don't think this is a view that you really want to take, that something being written down automatically makes it true.
I just, my only argument is this, that like all types, like different cultures, like different corners of the world, um, they all resemble like a Jesus, like a baby Jesus, like in their shape of how they looked, and I feel like that's kind
That
of
doesn't make any
too.
sense. All I'm asking for is some actual evidence or argument. Is that something
But
that you
how would
have, or
everybody agree? How would everybody agree to like to a baby Jesus
I
that
don't know
looks
what you're
just
talking about,
resembles them?
Key. I don't know what you're talking about. There are obviously cultures that don't have anything about baby Jesus in their culture, so this is a completely irrelevant point. Do you actually have some kind of argument or evidence, or no?
Mm, well, there is like stories, that you hear,
Right, but we already talked
that
about something being a story doesn't make it true. So why should we think that it's true that God exists?
um because God is everything. God is
That's
air.
certainly the
Like,
claim. I'm asking for the evidence or argument that would make me think that claim is accurate.
okay, what if we didn't know that God is the sun? Because the
Okay.
sun gives life.
Well, I feel like you are doing your best. Unfortunately, I don't think that we're getting anywhere, so I'm going to move on. I appreciate you, though, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Also, that echo was getting wild. Okay. Give me one quick moment here, and it looks like we have a couple people requesting. Um, like I said, just give me a moment here. Do a little bit of behind the scenes maintenance. Um, okay. Okay. Bring up our next guest and hopefully have a good, productive, linear conversation. Hi, Oliver. Are you at least 18? Okay, fair enough. Hello, are you at least 18?
I am.
What do I call you?
Nosi.
Nosi, okay. And what God do you believe in?
I've been up before, man. If I'm not arguing for theism, I just have a quick question for you. If you want to move on, that's okay.
Oh, okay. What have you got for me? Are you an atheist?
Not necessarily. I'd say probably agnostic if I had to label myself anything.
Fair enough.
But
what's your question?
Have you ever heard of Munchausen's trilemma or Agrippa's trilemma?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. It's currently my mission to get people to stop calling it the Munchausen trilemma. It's just Agrippa's trilemma. I'm not
Okay.
saying that you have to listen to me or care, but
Sure.
I
like
I
the
was
Agrippa's trilemma better anyway.
well, I was reading a book about it recently, and supposedly, and I need to look this up, but the book that I was reading, supposedly, it was always called Agrippa's trilemma, and then like somebody put on like Wikipedia that it's also Munchausen trilemma, but nobody really calls it that.
Oh,
But
no.
now that it's on Wikipedia, everybody fucking calls it that.
That's
Now,
funny.
again, I need to verify that, but that's my understanding. The only reason that I think that it's worth repeating that is that I read it in an actual philosophy book, and it was written by a PhD professor of philosophy who was just griping about the fact that people call it the Munchausen trilemma. Not important. Yes, I'm familiar with the Agrippa's trilemma.
Do you think the argument for theism is a Agrippa's trilemma?
I don't know what you mean. Like, does
So-
it solve it?
No, not necessarily. Do you think that the argument for theism always leads to Agrippa's trilemma, which essentially means that it always ends up with three flawed outcomes: circular reasoning, infinite regress, or an unproven axiomatic starting point?
Yeah. So I think that if like the reason Agrippa's trilemma is compelling and why we're still talking about it, is that it's going to be present in any, like, I don't really like the term worldview, but in any worldview, right? Like, it's going to be present regardless, because it's just like a problem with epistemology simpliciter, right? Like, it's not a problem with like atheist epistemology or theist epistemology. It's just a problem with epistemology. Like, and
Sure.
it's like, and the ways around it are few and far between, right? Because like the funny thing about it is that technically it should be a quadrilemma, because you could say that there's actually a fourth option, which is to say that like there is no grounding, or like there is no justification or whatever. So it is kind of a quadrilemma, but nobody really wants to be the skeptic, so we just say that it's a trilemma. Anyway,
Sure.
I think that any view is going to have this issue, and I think that it's like one of those things that's just like worldview independent, right?
So you think views in terms of like epistemology, not necessarily things that could be considered objective truths?
Yeah, like I think that this is one of those things that is like Agrippa's trilemma is something that you have to address before you can even start considering whether there's a God. Like, I think that this is like such a fundamental level that trying to ask questions about, like, by the time you get to the point where you're asking questions about whether a God exists, you have to have already figured out your resolution to Agrippa's trilemma, or at least like put it on the back burner and said, I'll get back to that later. But I think that, like, because this is actually something, because I've been reading, I'm on my second time through this epistemology book, which is the book that was talking about this trilemma.
What is it, by the way?
Michael Huemer's Understanding Knowledge.
Okay.
I'm on my second read through it, and yes, for anybody who reads philosophy, yes, it is an intro to epistemology book. I am that low tier, and I'm happy to admit that. But yeah, so I'm reading through that book for the second time, and I'm just finding like that this is like a real issue for me, because what I didn't realize was that unknowingly I was putting myself in the dogmatism camp of the trilemma, right? I was basically just like holding an unjustified foundation, and I know why I was doing that, but I realized that I already knew I didn't want to do that, and I'm realizing that there are ways around it. So that's like something I'm currently working on in my own epistemological framework. So I'm aware of like the issues that this presents. I just don't think that there's a way, like I said, I just think that this is an issue that is so at such a bedrock level of epistemology that by the time we're asking other questions about our worldviews, we have to have already gotten past this, if that makes any sense. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass.
No. It makes complete sense. I just feel like if you're specifically theist, you might always fall into this trap, whereas somebody like an atheist or an agnostic, we don't necessarily need to have any type of any proof. I guess you still do need an argument for your position, but there's so many different ways to argue for an atheist or an agnostic, I guess. Whereas somebody that believes in theism, there's essentially, I mean, after the hundreds of, discussions I've I've watched you and hundreds of other people have, especially with Western religions, very specific ones. It's essentially, I mean, it ends up in the same spot every time, most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the reasons why it might seem more prevalent amongst theists is that I think that for most theists, even those who like try to use like philosophy babble to support their points, is that they don't actually understand how, like, what an epistemological framework is. They don't understand what like foundational justification is, and like that's something that I'm dealing with right now, right? Is trying to like, that's why I'm saying like I'm reworking my epistemological framework, is that I'm trying to figure out where my like what kind of justification I'm willing to accept for foundational beliefs or foundational knowledge, and I'm realizing that as much as I fucking hate this, and it's genuinely painful to admit this on stream, but I think I'm coming around to phenomenal conservatism, and not like just like unfettered access to phenomenal conservatism. I'm not like immediately like jumping into becoming a direct realist or anything, but like I do think that like to some degree, like we have to say that appearances do provide some level of justification for beliefs and knowledge. And if it's the case that appearances can provide at least some level of justification, then we can probably get there the rest of the way with like, because like what are the foundational things that we have to like that are hard to justify, right? It's like the external world exists. Well, if you take the position that the external world doesn't exist, that's actually self-defeating, or at the very best, it's unfalsifiable, and you should never hold an unfalsifiable position because it's impossible to support or refute. And so like it's from my perspective, it's almost as good as a logical fallacy to hold an unfalsifiable position. That would be a long conversation to get into why I would say that, but but essentially, like external world skepticism, I think we can kind of like on face, like prima facie, I think that we can just kind of rule that out because it just doesn't get us anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't provide support for itself. We don't actually have a reason to think it. And then we can also say like that's some level of justification to not accept external world skepticism or global skepticism. And then if we put on top of that that also the appearance of an external world provides at least some small amount of justification for thinking that there is an external world, I think that we can kind of get over that hurdle and say that we're justified in thinking the external world exists. And then if we go to something similar like logic, we're going to say, okay, well, it's actually self-defeating to deny that logic works. And if we say, okay, well, that's self-defeating, so I shouldn't hold the position that it doesn't work. And then we say, well, the fact that it seems to work provides at least some small level of justification for the idea that it does work, means that we have a negative amount of, or well, we say we have zero justification for the position that logic doesn't work, and we have at least some small amount of justification that it does work, and then we keep like using it and testing it and seeing if we can like raise our confidence that it should work. And I think that like or like the reliability of my senses, I think we have to kind of say the same thing. Like the only way that I have to like analyze information or the world around me is through my sense data. And if that's all I have, then to even test my sense data, it's kind of like logic. Like I have to presuppose some degree of reliability for my sense data in order to even test the reliability of my sense data. So it's self-defeating to not trust my sense data. So then I have that like disconfirmation of the position sense data is completely unreliable. And then again, with my seemings, the appearance of my sense data seeming to be some level of reliable, again, provides me the small amount of justification to think that it is. That kind of gets me over that 50% that I would be at from, like the principle of indifference. So if I can get slightly over 50% on all of these foundational things, just by acknowledging that appearances provide at least that tiny little bit of justification, I think that we can like basically just say like, okay, like now we have these like foundational beliefs and foundational knowledge about those fundamental like bedrock things, and then we can build up from there. So that would kind of be my personal answer to Agrippa's trilemma, is to say that, yeah, like we kind of have to appeal to appearances, and you could say that there's some degree of like epistemic circularity there because it's unavoidable. So like you could still like, critique it, but I think that that's about the best, as far as I know currently at my low level of understanding, that's the best that I can come up with. But the point that I was trying to get to, I'm so sorry, I'm rambling forever.
You're fine.
The point that I was trying to get to is that the reason that it can seem like theists don't have this kind of like analysis is that typically the theist position is God solves all of this. So all I have to do is say I believe in God, and I never have to think about any of this stuff. And this stuff sucks to think about, to be honest. Like I'll be honest, like it's fun for me because I like actually enjoy this stuff, but it also really fucking sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like thinking about this stuff is a massive headache. I to the point literally where my girlfriend had to sit me down and be like, "What is going on with you?" And I was like, "Okay, this is gonna sound really dumb, but I'm having this like epistemic crisis right now." And luckily, she's really
Yep,
cool
been there,
and
bro.
supportive, and
Been
we got through it. But like even she was like, "Something's going on with you," because because it sucks to think about this shit. But anyway, so like that would be my justification for why it seems like theists don't have these answers, don't have some analysis of how they get through this, because they think that they just have the get out of jail free card.
Sure. I mean, I agree with you. It does suck. But I mean, I'm sure you could agree with me in this, and that I just truly enjoy it too. I mean, I enjoy looking at many different ways of trying to understand things. So yes, it's a burden, but it's also a blessing too, to have the desire to want to dive deeper and not have to rely on some kind of man-made story. Real quick, last thing, and then I'll drop off. Have you ever heard of Tom Campbell's My Big Toe? The Theory of Everything. It's a book written by a man named Tom Campbell. Don't watch the any YouTube really, because he's getting really old, and trying to listen to him is very, very boring, and he doesn't make really a lot of sense. But he wrote these books sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s. He's a nuclear physicist, and he combines physics and metaphysics and consciousness and all sorts of stuff. He kind of has more of a digital, almost simulation style theory of everything. I wouldn't say it's full simulation, but it's very, very intriguing, very interesting. And the whole it's a 3-part series. The whole first part of the first book is how to understand things. He's not even giving his theory. He's talking about ways to understand things. And I'd be curious if I think you would enjoy it, even if you don't fully, I don't necessarily fully resonate with his theory of everything, but at the same time, I really enjoyed reading his book. So,
well, I appreciate the recommendation. I don't know that it's going to be like real high on my TBR, considering all the other stuff I've got on there. But yeah, I appreciate the recommendation.
I would throw it on there, and if one day you get to it.
Sure. I'll say like my initial knee-jerk reaction is that like I think that anything that's going to appeal to metaphysics is going to lose me really fast. I hold the unpopular position that the metaphysical modality is just vibes and meaningless. So I think that like until someone, and maybe it's in that book that he actually gives a real description of the metaphysical modality, but I'm gonna guess that he probably doesn't.
Very, very intriguing. Again, if it put it on the bottom of your list, and one day you get to it. If anything, I think you might find it interesting.
Fair enough.
Because he's a nuclear physicist, so he doesn't appeal to any type of religion or ancient philosophy or anything like that. It's a little bit different. So
fair enough. Well, I appreciate the conversation. I hope you have a good one.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
Take care. Okay. So if you are in the guest box or thinking about joining, let's make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Thank you so much to Dreaming Duchess and Lupine, Lem, Ken. Like, thank you all very much for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. Okay, so looks like we have Business Dude and then Kenny. Hi, Business Dude. Are you at least 18?
Hello. Yes, I am.
Okay, what God do you believe in?
I believe in the Christian God.
Cool. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Well, I first would like to kind of understand your framework, because I don't want to just come up here and kind of pick at your argument like, dishonestly. So I'd like to really understand your framework for looking at it. Like, how do you define God? Like, what are you defining as God specifically?
Well, I think that just kind of a basic definition is going to be something like, a mind that created the universe, or if we want to get slightly more specific, we could say a personal ultimate foundation to reality. I think that that's going to kind of capture the current generic idea of the monotheistic God. But as long as we're talking about something in that ballpark, I'm kind of fine with whatever my interlocutor holds God to be. So if you believe in well, you said you're a Christian, I'm fine with whatever version of the Christian God you believe in.
Okay, so I wanted to lock in on a point before I lost it. You said that like a mind that created the universe. So when you say a mind, are you saying like a conscious mind? It has to be a conscious mind with like a name, an address, and physical reality, or some sort of like, does it have to go by the name Jehovah or something like that?
No.
So I would say the evidence of there being a mind that created the universe is that we exist. And I like, with a lot of the people I see having the arguments online against God, usually have these conceptual frameworks. Like, for
Well, I don't
instance,
want to talk
saw
about other
earlier-
people's arguments.
Right.
I just want you to explain
No,
to me how.
I'm tying it into your own argument. I was in earlier, and you guys were talking about like.
Yep, that's not
circles
relevant.
and you-
Yep, none of that's
Okay.
relevant. All that's relevant right now is you explaining to me how our existence demonstrates that a God exists.
Certainly. So basically, that's what I was getting to. You were talking about circles. You were like, okay, well, if there are no names for circles, or there is no one around to say that there is a circle, would circles exist? And I would say circles exist insofar as you believe them, and they're not necessarily that they exist. It's that it's practical, just like everything else. You were saying like, oh, well, you don't go by things that are just vibes. But I would say, isn't your existence a vibe? Like, you just have thoughts and feelings about the world. You have a name. You have a place that you were born. You have a mother. You have all these data points.
I don't know
that
how
say
this is
that you
getting us to
exist,
God. I
but your
really need
actual
you to land the
existence is
plane
only
here.
your experience of life.
I really need you to land the plane here. How do we get to God?
Well, yeah, I don't really see. You're not positing anything that says that there isn't a God. I would say
It
like,
doesn't
your
matter. How do we
experience-
get to a God exists? How do we reach that conclusion?
So isn't that like proving a negative? You want me to prove that God doesn't exist, is what you're saying?
What? No.
You want me to
It's
prove
your
that God doesn't
position
exist?
that a God exists. I'm asking what is the rational justification for your position?
I would say it's your experience of life.
Do you think that if I said that the
Like, I think-
evidence
I
for
think you're-
atheism is your experience for in life, do you think that that would be a good argument for atheism and that you should become atheist after hearing that argument?
I would say that.
I just
Are
need
you
a yes
saying
or a no.
atheism like an idea,
I just
or
need
are
a
you
yes
saying
or a
that
no.
God-
I just need a
What?
yes or a no.
I'm going to go with no.
Okay, I agree. That would be a really shitty argument. The problem is, the thing that is frustrating to me is that you can recognize that it's a shitty argument when I give it for my position, but somehow you think it's not a shitty argument when you give it for your position. Bad news that I have for you, business dude, it was a shitty argument when you gave it, just as shitty as it was if I gave it. So now that we both agree that that's a shitty argument, do you have a non-shitty argument for God?
Well, I'm kind of rejecting your framing of the entire situation.
Okay, well, so you don't want to actually have the conversation or present any argument or evidence? Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, my argument is that your argument for the non-existence of God is based on faulty evidence. Like, you're
I don't
saying
care.
it
I
has
don't
to be-
care. I don't
What-
care.
what?
I
You're
don't
not letting
care.
me
I don't
complete-
care.
you're
I don't
basically
care.
straw
I don't
manning.
care. I don't care.
But
So I'm going to
you're
ask you one more
irrational
time.
being,
I'm going to, okay, hold on. Calm down. I'm going to ask you one more time. This is a very direct question. If you cannot give a direct answer, or your answer in any way isn't actually a response to the question, I'm going to take that as a concession and I'm going to move on. The question is, what is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God? Please present that argument or evidence.
Well, I'm going to have to concede because
Okay.
this doesn't seem to be an actual argument.
Yeah, I agree. You don't have an actual argument. But hey, maybe you can come back another time when you have one. One moment. Well, that was important. Okay. So if you're in the guest box or thinking about joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God. Before I bring up the next person, thank you so much for the support, Ken. I sincerely appreciate it. All right, so we'll bring up Kenny. Hi, Kenny. Are you at least 18?
What's up, Ogre? Yeah, I am.
Cool.
How you doing today? How you doing on this fine, beautiful Tuesday?
It's been a rough night, man. I was streaming earlier and my power went out for an hour and a half. So I'm back here doing a much later stream than I would normally do because my power was out when I would normally be streaming. So That's my
Yeah, that sucks.
that's my the defeated look on my face.
You think it had to do with God? You think God turned off the power?
Oh, he finally found a way to get me. So all right, Kenny, you said, I'm so sorry. I have a horrible memory and you got me off on a tangent. You said you are at least 18, correct?
I am. I am.
And what God do you believe in?
Oh, I believe in the concept of a God. I don't necessarily believe in one denomination.
Okay, well, I believe that the concept of a God exists as well. Do you believe that a God exists?
A God, honestly, probably. It's probably just one entity. It's probably one God.
Okay, so I'm asking if you hold the positive belief that at least one God exists.
Yeah, at least one God exists.
Okay, and would that be like a mind that created the universe?
Yeah, it would have created the universe. It'd be keeping it stable now.
Okay, so what would be the best argument or evidence that would give us rational justification to believe in that? Oh, if you're off the app, I can't hear you.
So structure exists in our reality. As we can see in nature, there's a need. Like for you to live for the next day, you're gonna need food, you're gonna need water, trees need sun. I feel like the universe needs a God. Then the universe needs stability. It can't just do it by itself. We see all the time in the news how there's all these
I don't want this like aside things. Just give me like the bare bones, just the argument, please.
The bare bones is that since there is a need for like you and me and like every creature on the planet and everything on the planet.
This is more of the
as well
aside
as the
stuff.
sun.
This is not bare bones. I need 0 examples. Okay, so just the concepts, just the bare bones of the argument itself, without going off into like examples of things. So just the argument, please.
The universe needs a God to be stable, as we need water and stuff to live. That's my point.
Okay, that was another. Do you understand what I'm saying when I say no examples? That I just want the argument and not. Oh, okay. I guess if you just want to run away. I just want to focus on the fucking argument. That's all I want is the fucking argument. Okay. Give me a moment to hydrate and we'll bring up the next person. All right. So if you are in the guest box or thinking of joining, please make sure that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in a God. Hi, user 6545506597331. Are you at least 18?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Okay. And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in the Christian God?
The historical evidence and like from creation itself. I think creation shows that there is a need of a God.
Okay. Well, we can only talk about one thing at a time. So which of those two things do you want to talk about?
The first one.
Okay. What is the historical evidence that would give us justification to believe in a God?
I would say that Jesus is God from the historical viewpoint of the Roman government, Pontius Pilate, and there's other testimonies about other people who weren't even a part of the movement that showed that Jesus was somebody of a higher stature or somebody higher than a person itself.
Jesus was higher than a person?
Like, you show God, like he was God.
Okay. So this is just claiming that historical evidence exists. What I'm asking you for is the actual historical evidence. Not just claims that historical evidence exists, right? Because I could say, well, there's historical evidence that proves that there are no gods. And you say, well, what's the historical evidence? And I say, well, there are a bunch of people who said it in history. And you say, okay, well, just saying that a bunch of people said some stuff in history doesn't actually provide me any evidence. Doesn't, and if I said that to you, you would probably think, wow, this guy probably doesn't actually have any evidence. Otherwise, he would have just given the evidence. And that's what I'm thinking right now about you, is that if you actually had evidence, then you probably would have given the evidence. But since you didn't actually give the evidence when I asked you for the evidence, that makes me think you don't have any. Can you prove me wrong and give me some evidence?
Why do you think God is fiction, though? Like, what is your reasoning?
Okay, is that a concession?
It's not a concession, but
okay.
I just
well, then go ahead and give the evidence.
we can talk about like how creation is needed for a God.
You said that there's historical evidence. What's the historical evidence? You don't get to just pretend we're talking about something else because you're scared to answer this question.
Like thousands of historians have agreed that Jesus was somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that sure is a claim. What's the evidence?
Yeah.
Just repeating the claim again isn't evidence. I'm sure you understand that. Like if I say there is no God, and you say, how do you know that there is no God? And I say, well, because there isn't a God. And you say, well, okay, I understand that your position is that there is no God, but what's the actual evidence or argument that there is no God? And I say, well, see, because there isn't a God, that means that there is no God. You're probably going to get pretty frustrated, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is you're saying that the evidence that there is a God is this historical evidence. I asked you for the historical evidence, and you said, well, Jesus is God from the historical viewpoint of the Roman government and Pontius Pilate. There are other testimonies from people outside the movement that show that Jesus was higher than a person. Okay, well, that's just claiming that, again, that there is historical evidence, but that was the claim that I was asking you for the evidence for. So, again, all you've done is restate the claim that you're supposed to be providing evidence for. I'm sure you understand the difference between stating a claim and providing evidence for that claim. So I'm going to ask you to do the latter and provide evidence for the historical historical evidence for the claim that God exists, as you're claiming that you have. And you are muted, so okay.
Okay. Yeah. I would say the early documents of like Paul the Apostle.
Okay, but Paul didn't witness anything. He wasn't one of the disciples. He wasn't like a follower of Jesus during Jesus' lifetime. He didn't, even if there was a resurrection, Paul didn't witness it. So Paul can't provide us any historical evidence. What is some historical evidence about, from Jesus' life, something like that would actually give us reason to believe, that we know anything that he did or said?
Most historians agree that like Jesus was a preacher in Judea.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I can accept that, like, the majority of scholars probably do agree that Jesus existed. That's fine. I can accept that. But just like you don't think that Muhammad existing in reality means that Islam is the one true religion, and you probably don't think that Joseph Smith existing in reality means that Mormonism is the one true religion, and you probably don't agree that if Siddhartha Gautama existed in reality, that Buddhism is the one true religion. Similarly, I'm going to take the position that even if Jesus did exist in reality, that doesn't mean Christianity is the one true religion. It is your position that there is evidence that would get us to believing in God, and specifically your position is that there's historical evidence that should make us believe in God, and I'm just asking you to tell me what that historical evidence is, please. Or you could concede and we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. So do you want to talk about beginning of the universe, or do you want me to provide an argument?
Provide an argument.
Fantastic. Let me think. I don't want to run the same argument I've run multiple times tonight, so let's do something else. Okay. So I'm going to say that if change occurs, then time exists. Do you agree?
Say that one more time.
If change occurs, then time exists. Oh, Philo Dragon, whose name I think I'm pronouncing correctly. Thank you so much for the support, dude. That dude's the best. Look at me in this hat. Boom. Okay. So my first premise of the argument that I'm presenting is that if change occurs, then time exists. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what that would mean then is that if time doesn't exist, then change doesn't occur, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And whoa, look at that. Dragon crown. I'm breathing fire and stuff. I'm so sorry. This is all new for me. This TikTok is fucking crazy sometimes, man. I'm so sorry. I'm like way too autistic and ADHD to like handle the animations coming up on screen and have a straightforward conversation. I apologize. Okay, so what I was saying is that okay, so we said that if change occurs, time exists. We said that if time does not exist, then change doesn't occur. And then my next point is going to be that the sum total facts about reality is unchanging in a timeless state of existence. I thought if you need me to break that down, I can.
Yeah, can you break that down?
Yeah, sure. So what I'm saying is that if reality, if there's a state of existence without time, then that means that there's also no change in that state of existence, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what that means is that whatever facts are true in that state of existence can't change. Like the true facts in a changeless state of existence can't change, right? So that would be all I'm saying, is that the sum total facts about reality can't change in a timeless state of existence. And then my next point is going to be that if God created the universe, then that means that there was a change in the sum total facts about reality in a timeless state of existence. Because if God created the universe, then that means God's outside of the universe. If God's outside of the universe, that means God's outside of time. And if God's outside of time, then that means God exists in a state of reality that has no change. And if that state of reality has no change, then the sum total facts about reality can't go from God exists without the universe to God exists with the universe. But if God created the universe, the sum total facts about the universe would have to change from God exists without the universe to God exists with the universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So what that means is that it's not possible for God to have created the universe. We can conclude from the things that we've already agreed to that God could not create the universe. I think we would probably also agree that if God exists, then God did create the universe, as that's part of the definition of being a God. And so then our only rational conclusion that we could come to then would be that God does not exist.
Hey, it was a good talk.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
This is the argument that I just ran. Hey, Grandpa No Pivot, thank you so much for the support. Sincerely, I genuinely appreciate it. And Godless Heathen, thank you as well for being a Godless Heathen and for the support. Thank you so much, y'all. The amount of support that I've been getting here lately has just absolutely blown me away. And I cannot thank you guys enough. Hand Hearts achieved the live goal. Saintly, thank you so much for that. Luna, thank you for the support. Man, I don't even know what to say. It's very, 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 very much appreciated. I could do some special pleading, I suppose. Okay, so currently don't have anybody requesting, but I am getting tons of support from Lupine. Thank you. Oh, well, you know what? I'm getting enough support. I can acquiesce to one request. Carvered, thank you so much for the galaxy. Holy shit, you guys, thank you. We can have a little bit of Eunice with our night. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Where did we come from? Well, clearly we came from Eunice. That's why I'm a Unitarian. Guys, who came up with Unitarian? Was that, I don't think it was Dwight. Was it, I'm trying to remember who it was. It wasn't Bradley Cooper. Was it Both Sides? It might have been Both Sides. But yeah, Eunice once ate a particularly spicy hypotenuse and, gave her a little rumbly in her tumbly, and she farted out a particularly evil, but also logical and mathematical fart, and that is what became our universe. We were all farted out of Eunice's glorious butthole. So if you are in the comments and you think that a God exists, please feel free to join. I just ask that you are 18 plus and have some kind of argument or evidence that would provide rational justification for your position that God exists. Hey, thanks for the support, Alice. That's awesome to see you back here. Currently don't have anybody requesting, so we're not having a conversation right now, but I'd be happy for I love it, Dwight. I'd be happy for somebody to come up and actually have the conversation. The goal here is to have honest, good faith, linear conversations about whether or not there's justification to believe in a God. As far as I can tell, there isn't justification. I've given multiple arguments for the conclusion that God doesn't exist. Before my power went out and since my power came back on, and no one has provided any evidence. There are satirical elements to my live. Yes, there are satirical elements to the live. I would not say that the live is satire simpliciter, as it is genuinely my position that God is fiction. Strongest debate, Alex? Do you just mean like my strongest argument? I don't know about strongest, Alex, but I think probably my current favorite argument is what I call Godn't from mind. If we accept that God has a mind, and we accept that minds have either changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state, and that change only occurs in time, and of course that God exists outside of time, then we can safely conclude God has only one unchanging mental state. So to break some of that down, the reason I say that God has a mind is because God, under the typical conceptions of God, is that God knows things. In order to know things, you have to have intentional mental states about propositions. So if God has knowledge, God knows things. If God knows things, God has mental states, at least one mental state. If God has at least one mental state, God has a mind, right? So we can conclude the first premise, God has a mind, pretty safely, I think. I also think it's pretty safe to say that minds must have at least one mental state. But it's also possible for minds to have multiple mental states. So it seems that premise 2 would be true. The minds either have changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state. Then I think that we can safely conclude that change only occurs in time, because if nothing happens, nothing changes. So that means if something changes, something happened, which means if all changes are happenings, we know that all happenings are events and all events are in time, which means that all changes are in time. So change only occurs in time. We know that God must exist outside of time. If God exists inside of time, then he doesn't exist. So again, God only has one unchanging mental state. Acting on your will requires your mental state to change from I intend to do X but haven't done it to the subsequent mental state of I have done X. So that means God can't act on his will. If he can't act on his will, he didn't create the universe. But if he exists, he did create the universe, so that means God does not exist. I think that that's a pretty reasonable argument. Yeah. I mean, I have time. I don't know that I want to, do another hour of answering questions. But if there is something specific, Alice, that you want to discuss, we can discuss it. I just don't know that we're going to do another hour-long conversation. My other option here, though, is to just reset the live and see if we can get some more opposition in, because it doesn't seem like we really have opposition that wants to have the conversation right now. And then just maybe time. I'm typically not live this late, so I haven't built an audience for this time slot, right? So yeah, I don't know if Alice wanted to come up and chat a little bit. Can at least answer a question or two. Otherwise, oh, that was you, Lupine? Oh, I'm sorry. I completely stole your valor there, Lupine. I apologize. That's my bad. I don't know why I thought it was Not the Real Dwight or both sides. I thought it was one of those people with all lowercase names. That's what I was thinking. So that's my bad. But yeah, I totally stole Unitarian and am using it. Oh, well, Alex, I was just about to bring you up, but you dropped. Okay, we do have somebody requesting. Maybe this is an opponent who wants to. We'll get to Alex real quick. See if there's something specific. Hey, Alex, did you have a
No,
question?
I'm just a massive fan of you.
Well,
Because the stuff you're saying is so logical. Like the and ahhing people do when they're like but this but that. It's like, guys, just think logically. You know, he's saying very fair point. Just take each point at its face value and just think of that. It's very simple. But no, I just want to say I'm a massive fan. That,
Thank
you know, the stuff you're doing, and you're saying the right things. You know, you're not saying no, you are wrong. You're just saying give the evidence. And that's what atheism is. You know, it's saying, you know, you say God exists, we say, can you prove it? They say no, so therefore we say, well, God doesn't exist.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I think that we can get even stronger than that, right? Like, I think that there are arguments, like the one that I gave, starting from God having a mind, or there are a lot of other arguments, you know, like the Proclus dilemma, or like there are good arguments against specific religions. Like, I think that there are so many arguments that, like, not only are you correct that theists don't ever provide the justification for their position, so then I think we're justified just on those grounds of rejecting the idea that a God exists. But I think that we can go even further and say that the vast majority, at bare minimum, the vast majority of God concepts are internally inconsistent and contradictory. And so I think that we can go further than just rejecting God. I think that we can say that probably no gods exist. Now, I'm not going to say that I have 100% confidence, but
It's also like, because no one can really be certain about 100% this does not happen.
Right.
Like, for example, a lot of people I think, or who I've dealt with, is that it's all about belief. They say, because I believe in it, it must be true. But that's like me saying, I believe my father could fly when I was 2 years old. Does that mean he can fly? They'd be like, no, he doesn't fly. I'm like, that's my point.
Yeah.
Just because you believe something it is, does not mean it's true.
No,
it's like,
I'm fully with you. Well,
Yeah.
Alex, I honestly, like, I appreciate you and you know, coming up and showing some support. I appreciate the people in the comments and like,
yeah, we love you. It's fine.
I honestly, it blows me away every time. I like, especially here lately, I've been getting so much more support lately than I was previously. And like, it just, I'm a little bit taken aback by it. I never expect it. Genuinely, the only reason that I'm doing these lives isn't because I thought that people were going to support me or that people were going to pay attention. Genuinely, I'm doing this because I like having these conversations and I like thinking about this stuff. And also, if I am wrong, I want to know. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like,
There's no issue with asking questions of people who say, you know, believe in this or believe in that. You know, it's a very simple concept. You know, humans are we want to know the answers to things, and I think when it comes down to religion, because we don't know certain answers, they always go back to religion to think just because we don't know it, God must exist. Well, doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
Yeah.
But, you know, if they want to believe in it, they can do. But if you want to prove to us, the non-believers, then show us evidence. You know, it's very simple.
it seems simple to me too. Well, again, thank you so much, Alex.
Of course. No, thank you for having me up. It's been a pleasure to
absolutely.
watch you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Well, you take care of yourself,
bye-bye.
and I hope you have a good one. Okay, so we'll see if we can have a conversation here tonight. Hi, Diamond. Are you at least 18?
Oh no, my fault. I know.
Okay. Well, it is TikTok terms of service that you have to be an adult. So, yeah, just looking to talk to people who are 18 plus. Was hoping to have a real conversation there. But, yes, Eutis the fetus. I'm not here to talk to children. Gross. That's about the most I can say about that. But it doesn't seem like we're in the algorithm or anything. I am going to go ahead and give a quick reset here. Before I do that, I just want to say, like, thank you, Mikey, for the support. And then obviously everybody else, like Carvard, Lupine, Grandpa, Luna, Godless Heathen, Saintly, more Grandpa, like Ken, Philo Dragon. Like, thank you guys so much. I don't want to forget that before I reset this and all that stuff goes away. So I sincerely appreciate it. But yeah, I will do a quick reset and I will be back momentarily. Let me just get this and then, okay, I will be right back. All right. And TikTok is going again. Hopefully we can get some folks in, get some opposition, and have some productive, linear, good faith conversations. That is always the goal. Yeah. but we'll see who comes in and what kinds of conversations they want to have. My goal, as always, is to have honest, good faith, linear conversations about whether or not there's justification to believe in a God. So if you are 18 plus and are also interested in having that conversation, if you have some kind of argument or evidence that provides justification to believe in a God, feel free to request and we can have the conversation. Oh, Saintly, thank you. I keep setting these live goals thinking like, oh, there's no way, but you know, it's fine. It doesn't matter if I don't actually get it. And then people just like kill it. And like, I don't even know how to handle it. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel like I say thank you enough, but I don't know how else to say thank you. So I just have to keep reiterating thank you so much because it is genuinely appreciated. And I want to keep having these conversations. So we do have somebody requesting. Just give me a moment here. And there. Just gonna check. Every time, this is so annoying. Okay. Hi, Jesus is King. I assume you're still Christian.
Yes.
Are you the same person I spoke with before? Or are you a different Jesus is King?
Hello?
Yeah, I recognize the name. I thought maybe we had spoken before, but from your voice, I don't think you're the same person I was thinking of. Are you at least 18?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that you are Christian. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Well, if you look at the olden days, like back in the day, the people that actually saw Jesus get crucified, can that be like a sign for you to believe? Respectfully?
I'm not aware of any evidence of anyone seeing Jesus get crucified or resurrect, so I'm not sure why I would think that those things happened.
Well, were you present when like the Titanic sank? No, right? We just heard about it. We know about it. Do you believe in the Titanic sinking, for example?
Yeah, I think we have quite a lot of evidence for that, but I don't know of any evidence for Jesus. What's the evidence that Jesus, resurrected?
Have you gone down there and see it is there?
Well, yeah, there's evidence of the Titanic sinking. But
Yeah, that's what I said.
But that's very true. That's very true. But okay, what about the Bible? The Bible.
Have you gone down there and see it?
Babe, stop. The Bible does say that, this happened, so...
Yep, that's the claim. What I'm asking for is evidence that would give me justification to believe the claim is true.
I guess I don't have any.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the honest conversation, and if you want to chat again, feel free to come back. I hope you have a good one.
All right.
Oh, and I cut them too early. Okay. Okay. Hey Juan, I think you were in the guest box earlier and I never got to you because I was having other conversations that went too long, so I just wanted to bring you up and have the conversation. Are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Cool. What God do you believe in?
Well, I believe in God and Jesus Christ, Spirit, our Holy Spirit.
Sure. What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
Well, my evidence is basically life, I guess. I heard just because I can't tell you what to believe in, but me as a human being and what I've gone through in life and, the stories that I've heard,
like my parents or my dad really, he had a really bad childhood. So I
Okay, my this feels like we're just getting further and further off topic. So it sounded like when I asked you for, the best argument or evidence, you said life. How would life get us to God?
because I mean, there's something in me. I guess it's like an aurora that in the Bible it does say that we were created in the way Jesus, himself or God himself, right?
That's
So
just the claim again, though. I am aware of these claims. What I'm asking for is the evidence that the claims are accurate.
yeah,
Like if I tell
I
you,
mean,
that I can jump 10 feet into the air, you're not going to just believe me. That's a crazy thing for a fat guy like me to claim.
that's
So you
but
would
that's
want
faith that
you would want some kind of
I,
evidence, right?
I
Or
mean, it's because it's about faith, I guess. I
okay.
mean, honestly, that's what it is. It's
Do you,
faith that you
do you think that
believe.
faith is a reliable pathway to truth?
I mean, you have faith in what you say, so I'm not gonna say nothing about it.
That wasn't
You
that wasn't
know,
my question. Do you
I
think that
I, I
faith
just I
do you think faith is a reliable pathway to truth?
yes, I do. Yes,
Okay. So you're saying that anytime
yes.
someone
If you
so
believe
you're
in
saying
something, yeah,
so you're saying that anytime someone believes something on faith, we can have confidence that the thing they believe in is true?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so
yes.
so when Muslims believe on faith that Jesus is not the Son of God, that means it's true that Jesus is not the Son of God?
I mean, that if that's what they believe in,
Okay. So you're saying that it's true that
if that's
Jesus
what they say.
so your position is that it's true that Jesus is the Son of God and it's true that Jesus is not the Son of God at the same time?
No, I believe that they believe something
That's not my
different.
question, Juan.
You know,
That's not my question. My question is, your position that you told me is that so if someone believes X on faith, then we can have confidence that X is actually true. If that's the case, then we would have to say that we know people have faith that Jesus is the Son of God, so we must have to conclude that that's true. And we also know that people have faith in positions that conclude Jesus is not the Son of God, so we must have to conclude that that's also true. So then, from your position, your argument that you've given, we can conclude that Jesus is the Son of God and Jesus is not the Son of God at the same time. But that's a direct contradiction. Do you see the problem?
well, I mean, I'm not. I mean, at least myself, I'm not contradicting myself at all
Yes,
because
you are.
that's what I think. But
Yes, you are.
But
Yes,
yeah,
you
no,
are.
I get
Nope,
what you're
nope.
talking
One.
about. No. But I
One.
guess
One.
no, because I'm not saying what they're saying. I
Yes,
don't
you are.
believe what they believe.
Yes, you are.
You know
You
what I
are.
mean?
Yes, you
No,
said that
no,
their
I'm just
beliefs are
saying
true
that
because
I'm
they
not
believe it on
gonna.
faith.
No,
Okay, Juan.
what
Let
I'm
me put this
saying
on the
is that
screen.
I'm not
Let me
gonna.
put this on the screen so that we can all
Yeah.
it's your position that if someone
Yeah. Go ahead.
sorry, this is going to be so stupid. If someone believes something on faith, that thing is true. This is your position, right?
Yes.
Okay. People believe on faith that Jesus is not the Son of God. So then our only conclusion is it is true that Jesus is not the Son of God. So do you agree that it's true that Jesus is not the Son of God?
Nah. Well, my faith doesn't let me say that, but I see
Right.
where you're coming from.
Right. So there is a contradiction in your view, and the only way that you can get rid of that contradiction from your view is to get rid of this position. You have to stop holding the belief that believing something on faith makes something true. But I appreciate the conversation. I hope you have a good
Yeah.
rest of your evening. Not sure that we were really getting very far there, so I will just go ahead and see if we can have another conversation or two before I have to call it for the night. What's up? You ready to get cooked?
Good. I like the smell of burning flesh.
Yeah. I'm going late, man. My power went out for like an
I
hour and
was
a half.
wondering why you weren't live earlier. I'm like, is he like enjoying the holiday or what? I mean, it's not like
No,
you
I
don't
did that
usually feel
earlier.
that part.
I went and saw family earlier. But yeah, then I was in the middle of my live. I was like, I don't know, a little over half an hour in, and then my power went out. So, but
Oh, great.
we're going
I was
now.
trying to silence you.
Probably, yeah, I know, right? We're probably gonna go for another like 10-ish minutes or so, depending on what conversations I get. Are you going live tonight? Are you doing your own live?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I might.
Okay. Well, I mean, are you doing that now or?
Well, my baby might need a bottle, but I don't know. So maybe in the next few minutes.
Okay.
Oh, Philo Dragon says, "Let's open up this pit."
All right. All right. So I will bring up I Am Who I Am. Hopefully that they have followed the rules. For everybody, the rules once again Jesus Christ. The rules are, I ask that you are 18 plus and that you have some kind of argument or evidence that provides rational justification for your theistic belief. So we'll see if, are they connecting? I can't tell. That was weird. Okay. Hi, are you at least 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to guess that you are Christian, but I could be wrong. What God do you believe in?
The one and only.
Well, that's not informative. So you're off to a bad start. What God do you believe in?
The God of the Bible.
And which Bible?
Well, the Holy Bible.
Okay. I do not have the patience for this after everything else that's happened today. So I'm going to try one more time. If you're not able to give a direct answer, then I'm just going to take it as a concession that you know atheism is true. What God do you believe in?
I believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Thank you for the concession. Welcome to atheism. All right.
Hello.
Hi, Kid Geo. Are you at least 18?
Yep.
Okay. And what God do you believe in?
The Christian God.
Cool. That wasn't so hard. I mean, I wish maybe I Am Who I Am heard how easy that was for you and he can take some lessons.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
My opinion, I really think like if you're talking just facts, you can't really prove either side because it's really all about faith. And I know
Well, I
that,
disagree.
like, really, how can you prove that God did not exist?
Yeah, sure. So I think an easy way to do that would be to just say that either God... do I want to go that route? You know what? I'm just going to do the same fucking argument that I've done 5 times already. I'm going to say that God has a mind. Do you agree with that?
Oh, my bad. I just got a call and it muted you for a second. Can you say it again? My bad.
Yeah, I my position would be that the God that you believe in, the God that we're talking about, has a mind. Do you agree?
I wouldn't agree he has a physical mind, like not.
Yeah, not a
Jesus,
brain.
yeah.
Not a brain,
Yeah.
but a mind.
Then yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I
Okay,
would agree.
fantastic. Cool. Do you agree that minds either have a series of changing mental states or only one unchanging mental state?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Sure, I think so too. Do you agree that change only occurs in time?
Time is a part of it, yes.
Well, I guess what I'm saying though is I don't think change can happen outside of time.
Okay,
Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then I think that it's pretty easy to conclude that God must exist outside of time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we agree that minds have to have either one unchanging mental state or they have changing mental states, but change only happens in time and God is outside of time, then we can pretty safely conclude that God's mind only has one unchanging mental state, right?
Not really. When I say yes to God is outside of time, I meant God has always been and always will. Like that, you know what I'm saying?
Sure, but what I mean is that since time is a feature of the universe, the only way God could be in time is if God was inside the universe. But if God's inside the universe, then God couldn't have created the universe. So I think the only way that we could say God could have created the universe is if he's outside the universe. But being outside the universe means he's outside time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So what are you saying, that his mind can't change?
Yeah, he only has one mental state and it can never change.
All right.
Okay. And I think that just follows from the things that we've already agreed to so far. And then the next thing I'm going to say is that, like, if I was going to act on my will, that would require me to go from having the mental state, I'm going to do such and such, but I haven't done it yet. And then later I would have to have a different mental state, I have done such and such, right?
Yeah.
So in order for any being to act upon its will, its mental states have to experience at least one change, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And since we already know that God's mental states can't change, if mental states require oh my goodness gracious. God's mental states cannot change, but we know that acting on your will requires a change in mental states, so that means that God cannot act on his will. And if God can't act on his will, then he didn't create the universe. But if God exists, he did create the universe, so that means that God doesn't exist.
I mean, I feel like time doesn't affect them, like, physically, but like
I'm not talking. I didn't say anything about physically.
I'm saying, dang, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, to be honest.
That's fair.
Yeah, nah, yeah, I need some time to think on that, man. I don't even know what to say. You got me.
Hey, kid, or I don't know what I should call you, Geo. I don't mean to be like
Geo
condescending or
nah,
anything.
both was cool. Nah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Well, here's what I want to say, Geo. Like, number one, massive respect for that response, because I think the most honest thing anybody could ever say when presented with an argument that they don't know how to respond to is, yeah, I haven't heard that before and I don't know how to respond to it. Like, to be honest with you, I give a lot of people shit for not having the balls to respond like that. So I just want to, like, take a moment and give you a little props because you gave the honest answer. So not to, like, overly glaze or anything, but, like, just I appreciate you for that. Genuinely.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
So yeah, I mean, if there's something that you want to think about and you want to come back another time, I would be ecstatic to have a future conversation with you.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna catch you next time, man. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Gio, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
All right, you too, man.
Awesome. W's in the chat for Gio, please. I love it.
The OGO.
I love it when people can actually fucking engage, like actually have the conversation. I'm such a big fan of that, and it just is so few far between. So I don't ever want to, like, go overboard, you know, like, because it also can kind of come across as condescending. You know what I mean? Like, it can kind of be like talking down to like you're infantilizing, and I don't ever want to do that, especially to people who are the ones who are actually acting like adults, like Gio did. So, but anyway.
Especially when you've got, like, kid in your name.
I know. Well, and the thing that I worry about, like, obviously, well, yeah, that's why I didn't want to just say kid, because I don't want to also be talking down to somebody, especially
It's
not.
already gonna sound condescending. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, fantastic conversation. Cool. All right, so we'll see if we can have maybe one more convo, and then if Lobes is going live, we're gonna have to make sure that everybody goes over and raids there. But we'll see if we can have one more convo before that happens. If Theo can connect. Hi, Theo. Are you at least 18?
I am.
Cool. And what God do you believe in?
Christian God.
And what would you say is the best argument or evidence that would provide rational justification to believe in God?
We are alive and we have free will.
Okay. How does that get us to God?
Your choices and your actions, I guess. But yeah.
I'm completely lost.
Well, you are who you are, right? You were born and you are a living person in that fact that it's
what does this have to do with God?
Say again?
How does this get us to God?
God is everywhere.
That's a claim, sure. Why should I think that God exists at all, much less is everywhere?
That is the point of free will. You have that choice to believe that God is.
Okay, I don't believe that. It's my position that beliefs are not chosen. You're either convinced of something or you're not. then being convinced of something is not a choice. So I don't think that it's a choice to believe X or not X. So since it's not a choice, the only way that I can believe that God exists is to be convinced that God exists. Do you have any argument or evidence that should convince me that God exists?
Well, your whole existence in your being is proof that God exists.
Yeah, that's the claim that you've made like 3 times now. What is the what's the connection between me existing and God existing?
Are you not, Yeah.
Okay, well, fair enough. I think I'll move on then, okay?
Okay. Blessing.
Yeah, I thought that was like proof of the human generator that exists on the moon. It spits out a stork that delivers babies down. I mean, you're living, you're breathing evidence.
I don't know what gives you the audacity to think that you're going to come up on this live and disrespect Eunice to my face. We all know
Eunice,
damn well
you're conflating. You're conflating. Eunice is responsible for the universe, not humanity. It's like when people mix up the Big Bang and evolution.
I see the backpedal.
I got my brakes wired in the back pedal. So
I got you know what I need to do is that's easy. I'm trying to overhear so hard to do all of this myself. I need like a whole bunch of people to work for me for free and make the stream better for free. So do you know any people that want to like manage my stream for free? There's got to be a bunch of them, right?
Well, Philo was saying you should mod him.
I already did. I literally was just doing that, and I'm just vamping for time while I was doing that. But okay, so we do have somebody requesting to come up. So since that Theo conversation didn't go anywhere, we'll see if they want to actually have a conversation, and then if you're going live, I'll direct everybody over there.
Yeah, I'll do a short live. I'm gonna give him a bottle and then I'll go live.
Okay, cool. Assuming the TikTok studio will cooperate enough for me to access my own guest queue, I will bring up the next person. What is happening? This is so fucking frustrating sometimes.
What category do you use for YouTube? Because like debate isn't really a category. Like you can select education or entertainment. I think I just did entertainment, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I just do entertainment as well. What is happening with TikTok? Like apparently I'm not going to be able to bring up another person.
Give your mods perms to manage guests, and they can see they can run the stream for you already. You just be like, hey, guys, bring up the next snappy fingers, bring up the next guest.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Why? Like,
The studio is cooked, man.
Dude, it is so frustrating because like it's telling me like, oh, you have people requesting. Yeah, I know there are people requesting. I'm trying to get to it so I can let one of them in.
Mash the click, just like click 5 times fast.
Oh my god, it popped up and then it went away.
We'll try 4 times fast then. There's probably something you could do to hotkey it. Like Control Q is bring up the poll. So maybe there's a hotkey that you can look at.
Like theoretically, probably. Oh my god, it finally worked. Oh my god. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't have to start crying or anything. Okay.
Let's go. I'm over 18.
Okay, cool. What god do you believe in?
Before you ask. Well, hey man, would I get kicked if I said I was undecided?
Well, I mean,
but I'm gonna argue for.
Well, I'm not really here to do LARP debates, and I'm also not really here for devil's advocate.
I believe in the God of Abraham.
Like your best reason for why you might believe, because then maybe we can fix that.
Yeah, the Abraham God. So like, I'm not gonna like go into Jew, Christian, or Islam or anything, but I'll just argue for like an Almighty.
Okay, and what would be the best? What would be the best argument or evidence that would compel someone to believe that God exists?
Yeah. So the premise there, man, is very it's coming from like a super scientific kind of point of view.
No,
One thing I'd like to
I didn't
point
say
out,
anything scientific.
sorry, like scientific method point of view, right?
Not at all.
Well, yeah, it's like if you can't provide evidence for such thing, it, is invalid sort of deal, right?
That has nothing to do with science.
Scientific method, right?
Yeah, I'm not talking about the scientific method. I'm not asking you to make observations or form hypotheses about potential explanations for those observations. I'm not asking you to go into a lab or to go out and do research to test those the hypothesis and find evidence for or against it. I'm not asking you to do any of those things. I'm not asking you to engage in the scientific method to any degree whatsoever. What I am asking you to do, however, is to help me to understand why you think the probability of God existing is higher than I think it is.
There's that word, man. That's a scientific word,
Nope.
is it not? Probability?
No. Nope. That's not a science word. Now,
It's a mathematical word.
Would scientists talk about probability? Yeah, probably. I'm sure that in a lot of cases that they
I'm
do.
just saying you're coming from a mathematical scientific perspective here, right?
No, I'm coming from a philosophical perspective. And in philosophy,
philosophy doesn't talk about probability.
Yes, it absolutely does. We want to know why I even know like probability calculations? Because of the philosophy books that I'm reading. Like, what are you talking about? Like, now I just have to, because like this is ridiculous. Where am I at? What am I trying to
Hang
look
on,
at?
real quick, I'd like to point out that I'm in good faith debating. I'm not like trying to get you or anything like that.
Okay, but that's what you are doing right now, is trying to tell me what philosophy is and isn't, and what you're saying is absolutely ludicrous. So all this stuff here on the screen, I don't know if you know what any of this is or what it means.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This is where that's really nutty, man.
Yeah, this is all from philosophy. Like, this is all probability stuff from philosophy. The only reason that I just copied and pasted this from my notes, and the reason that this is in my notes is because I wrote it down from a philosophy book that I'm reading. It's an epistemology book. Like, this is not science.
Epistemology, yeah. Yeah, that stuff gets really wild, dude.
I don't
That's like
care. I'm
emerging-
saying my only point here is that probability isn't a science thing. I'm coming at this from a philosophical perspective. So now that we've ruled out all this science bullshit that you're trying to poison the well with, what's the actual argument?
Can I just point out what that thing that you just pulled up was, right? That is like the attempt at merging math with logic, with conversational logic, right? If X, axiom X equal, therefore, that, right? It's a way to
not right. Nope, you're wrong. You're just completely wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I would hope that we could move forward from this. Like, I don't think that like any side has been crushed here. I just
I don't think any side. I don't think any side has been crushed. I think that you are just making yourself look really dumb, and I'm trying to stop you from doing that.
To be fair, also, I think a lot of the other guys that you kind of bring up here are actually pretty dumb, and it's almost like quit picking on idiots, dude. Like,
I bring up the people who request. Do you want? I'm not here to tone police. I'm not here for the meta bullshit.
I'm not
Do you
tone
want
policing you.
Oh my god. Do you want to give the argument or not?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just okay. All right. Well, my argument for the existence of God would be like, when something happens in history, right? Like, let's say, like, how do we know that Julius Caesar was stabbed, right, to death by all of his followers? Like, do you believe that might have happened? I'll assume yes, right? It's because when shit like that happens, all the people around run over to their books and write it down, right? They go, oh shit, Julius Caesar just got stabbed, right? So when things in history happen, like, I don't know, stuff like the Bible.
I don't need the
stuff like-
examples. I don't need all this stuff. Just give the argument. Cut to the chase, man.
Oh, sorry. I'll speed it up for you, man. So when profound things in history happen, a bunch of people will write.
You've
run
already
their
said
notebooks
this. I don't
and
need
write
you to
it
keep
down.
repeating yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know. I do give some importance to like the chronicles of that guy Jesus, right?
Okay,
because,
so it sounds like your contention here is that contemporary to things happening, important things happening, we would expect that people would write them down, right?
Sure.
So from your perspective, it sounds like if something important happens, necessarily a bunch of people write it down, right?
Typically, yeah.
Okay. And so if anytime something important happens, people write it down, we should assume that if there are no contemporary writings about a supposedly important event, that event didn't actually happen, right?
No, not at all. No. I'm
Well,
not saying
hold on,
that
hold
they
on.
always. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, so it was your position that you didn't say, like, sometimes. Your argument, and I wrote it down while you were saying it, and you said it 3 times, so I'm really sure that I got it right, was that when something happens in history, all the people who are around run to their books and write it down. If that's the case, that every time something important or noteworthy happens, people run and they write it down, then we should be confident in saying that if a supposed important thing happened, but we don't have contemporary writings of it, we should be confident in concluding that thing didn't happen.
Not at all. No, I'm sure.
Okay,
there's tons of
then that
things
is what
important
follows from the position or the argument that you've given, so you need to adjust the argument that you've given in order for that not to be an entailment.
Okay. So no. Okay. Look, I don't believe that anything important that has ever happened. Everyone must go write it down. I don't
Okay,
think that. every
fantastic.
single
So that was
important
the
thing
argument
that's
that you
ever
gave. So now you're conceding the argument that you gave
happened- I don't know if
previously.
I'm
What's the
conceding, maybe I'm just clarifying.
Well, I mean, that was the argument. So if you're clarifying by removing that part, that was all you gave. So yeah, that would be
I feel
conceding.
like this is like half of argument in general is like clarifying the other one's position, and
No,
like maybe
this
I
isn't a-
misspoke a little bit, but like I'm telling you what my position is, not like you know, if I say it a little bit wrong, you can't like trap me on what I said. Like I'm telling you what my position is right.
I'm telling you the entailment of your position. If you're saying that you stated your position incorrectly, fine. What is the actual position that you're arguing for?
I'm saying that the only way that we can have confidence in any event of the past is, or sorry, the only way we can even know about any event in the past in the first place is that a bunch of people went and wrote it down, right? And unless
Okay, so
all of those people
hold
have
on.
some insane, go ahead.
Hold on. So the only way that we should ever think that we have reason to believe in a historical event is if there are contemporary writings, right?
Contemporary, no, like writing contemporary at that time. You're saying, or like modern writings?
I'm saying writings from the time that the event was supposed to have taken place.
How would we know about it otherwise?
Right, absolutely. So let's formalize my argument for why we should not believe in the Abrahamic God, or especially the
By
Christian
the way,
God.
this is interesting because I've never hopped on one of these debates and had it be like so like academically structured. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying this is interesting.
It's just how my brain works. So this is how my lives go because it is
No doubt, man.
unfortunately subject to my brain.
That's cool, dude.
So the only way we can have confidence that I want to change this a little bit because you did adjust it as I was typing it, and I don't want to
like
misrepresent you. So the only
Hey,
way
I
we can
hope
have
that you let
confidence
me
that a
know if
past
you
event
get
happened is that a bunch of people went and wrote it down contemporary to the event, right?
I would even adjust that to say the only way we can even know in the first place.
Well, right. Have confidence
And
that,
then
that the
therefore
event
have
happened. I think that is covered by having confidence that the event happened. I think that
Okay,
saying,
yeah.
I know the event happened is saying, I'm confident the event happened.
Do you disagree with premise one?
I don't think you agree with premise one is the problem.
The only
And
way
I'm
we
going to
can
show you
have
why.
confidence- Okay.
Okay. So the only way we can have confidence that a past event happened is that a bunch of people went and wrote it down contemporary to the event. There are no contemporary writings about Jesus, his life, his actions, his death, or his resurrection. So then the only reasonable conclusion is that we cannot have confidence about Jesus, his life, his actions, his death, or his resurrection.
Okay,
So
I'd like to slightly alter one because that isn't the only way. There are 2 ways that we determine it, right? Hang on, right? Just hear me out. Hear me out. There's the writings of the people at the time, and then there's like archaeological evidence.
Yeah,
right?
so here's my problem, Edna.
Yeah.
This is just post hoc. So what you're doing, and you've done this both times now. So you've given your position. I've shown how your position would lead to the logically lead to the conclusion that you shouldn't believe in a God, especially not the Christian God. And then post hoc, you try to adjust the position that you gave to get around my, the entailment that I've shown you. So what my concern is here now is that if I adjust that first premise again to whatever you're saying now, and then I find a problem in it and I show you that problem, my concern is that all you're going to do is go back post hoc and adjust it again. That doesn't,
like moving the goalposts.
yes,
right?
that's what you're doing. Or you're moving the goalposts, or you could, well, I was going to say you could call it a Mott and Bailey, but I think a Mott and Bailey would be more sophisticated, and I think that we're just doing moving the goalposts.
Moving the
so,
goalposts.
so what I would rather have happen, Edna, you said something about coming back. What I would much rather do is have you sit down, figure out an actual argument that you really want to give and that you think is strong, and then have you come back and present that, so that we don't have to keep doing moving the goalposts. We can just say, yes, this is the argument, and if I find a problem in the argument that you're not able to address, then we just say, yep, that argument is done, and then you come back another time with a different argument.
Okay, truly, and this, you actually just addressed what I was about to say. I was going to say, I truly believe this is, I came on here like in good faith, right? I'm not a liar, and I'm not like being intellectually dishonest here, right? I truly believe like what you're addressing right there is me trying to clarify my argument rather than like dancing around something and like not allowing you to get me, kind of thing, right?
So I think
it's me trying to clarify like really what I believe is, right? And then I'm noticing little inconsistencies and going, okay, hang on, but that's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying this.
Yep. So
right?
that's a fair response. Like, I'm not telling you that can't be the case. I'm not claiming that it must be some other explanation for why the goalposts are moving. All I know is that the goalposts are moving, and I would much rather have you sit down, take a little bit of time to figure out exactly what your position is and how to present it in a way where you don't have to move the goalposts after I show the problem in it.
Also, to be fair, I like I said, like this kind of academic forum or whatever really requires like nailing down goalposts at the start, and I didn't know or like realize that that's like exactly what we're doing, right? Like I didn't think like every word I was saying was going to be like written down. Like I thought it was more of like a general kind of like philosophical discussion. But yeah, hey man, I get it, and I'm happy to come back and do it the way you want.
Fair enough.
Which is fair, by the way. I'm not saying it's unfair.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, man, you're too smart for your own good, I must say.
I'm a fucking dumbass, but I appreciate the attempt at the
Me
compliment.
too.
All right, you have a good
Hey,
one,
man,
Edna.
thanks for having me. Bye.
Well, I mean, at least it ended honestly. I don't think that he came up in good faith, but it seemed to end okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. When you believe in God or when you believe in Christianity specifically, most people don't really have the goalposts nailed down. They might find some kind of contention, talk to a pastor, hear an apologetic, and they don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just about silencing doubt. They don't have to analyze it, and most people don't dare analyze it further because they might run into other things that they can doubt, more problems.
Yeah.
Sometimes these apologetics will conflict with one another.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to point out part of why I do, like, I take notes while people are talking, part of why I write down arguments, my own are in the ones that are being presented to me, is exactly for those types of conversations, because I know that that's what I wrote, Edna. The reason that I do it this way is because I know whether it's Edna who's doing it, just because like that's the type of conversations he's used to having, or if it's other people who are going to use that, to their advantage intentionally, the Gish Gallopers of the world. I think that genuinely there are a lot of people who take advantage of the informal way that these conversations usually go, and they use that to get out of having to actually support their position. And that's why I'm such an asshole most of the time up here, and I'm holding people's feet to the fire, because I have no interest in sitting here and listening to somebody ramble off a bunch of different points that never really actually get us anywhere, and then it's impossible for me to respond to all of them because there were so many random different things that got thrown out, and then it sounds like I'm not actually addressing the point. So that's why I try to nail it down to a specific argument and specific points that we're discussing. But yeah, so I think that like I'm going to continue doing it the way that I do it, and obviously if that's a problem for people, then they certainly don't have to be here. I don't know how else to do that.
No, I like the structure a lot. Makes it really clean and easy to follow.
But But yeah, so are you going to be starting your live shortly here?
Yeah, he's got only a few swallows left, and I'm gonna burp him, wrap him up, and put him back down in the bed, and
okay,
then I'm gonna start.
Well, make sure, everybody, that if you're not already following Lobes, that you follow Lobes. I imagine if you're here, you're probably already following Lobes, but just in case. And then, you know, watch out for Lobes to go live in a moment here after taking care of the little one. But until then, I'm going to be, you know, signing off for the night. Obviously, I typically don't run my lives this late, but with my power going out for a couple hours, you know, I wanted to actually get the stream in. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for being here, for supporting. I should probably run through this real quick because so many people have been supporting. Edna actually sent a bunch of support. Thank you, Edna, for that. Yeah, bring your notebook, Edna. But thank you, Lupine, for the support. Thank you, Emperor's Champion. Ron G, it looks like, is supporting. 3 Pips, thank you so much. You Lobes, Grandpa, Saintly, just like, I don't know. The amount of support that I've been getting, especially here lately, is just blowing me away. So sincerely, thank you, everybody, for that. And then just to wrap up the stream, as I always try to say at the end of my lives, remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't know how many opportunities you have left to tell your family and your friends how much they mean to you. Let them know that they're important, that you care. So take every one of those opportunities that you